This is going to be the best long-form training content that you've ever had when it comes to generating more leads and creating a better culture inside of your business. So let's dive in right now. So first things first, I'm empathetic to most of you not knowing who the hell I am and probably going, why the fuck should I listen to this guy? And here's the thing, you probably shouldn't. But for those of you that want to listen to me, let me give you a quick background about who I am and why I'm doing this video today. So my name's Nick. I've been an entrepreneur for over 12 years now. I have grown and scaled multiple businesses to 7 figures plus, all organically. I've never paid for advertisement. I've never done DM outreach. I've never sent cold DMs in my life. And the lessons that I've learned along the way, I now teach to my students inside of my mastermind who all see incredible success, as you can see on the screen here. So the stuff that we do, it works, but the person implementing the information has to work in order for everything to work. So my desire is that you guys will come in, get some solid information here, maybe a new perspective on how to go about warming up your audience, converting leads, getting people to trust you, and then you can go crush it in your business, and then you can come into my mastermind so we can help you get to the next level. Okay, so this is gonna be a little all over the board, but I promise it'll all come to the conclusion at the end, and I'm gonna give you guys the nuggets. So first things first that we have to understand is that there are 2 different camps that you always have to be very specific on when it comes to growing and scaling any business. My specific target person that I help is anybody in a coach or leadership archetype. So I work a lot with online coaches in any field. I work a lot with corporate CEOs. Anybody who's running and scaling a business that has to do with influencing people and creating culture, this video is for you. So the first 2 things that we need is we need to get very crystal clear on the culture that we want to change and the culture that we've created to change it. So what does this look like? This is the culture that you want to go to war with. This is the culture that you see everything wrong and it makes you pissed off. What makes you mad? If nothing makes you mad, you're not passionate enough to change it. That's the truth. So we want to figure out that culture. If you're a fitness coach, maybe you're at war with diet culture. Maybe you're at war with the medical industry, putting everybody on Ozempic and other bullshit to get them to lose weight. That can be a culture that you're at war with. For me, I am at war with the coaching and the leadership space currently because I feel it's very unconscious and I feel like we've lost all humanity when it comes into business. I think too many business coaches are just focusing on sales, leads, conversions, and we're losing culture and the actual care and consciousness that goes into building a business and a brand that scales and stays here forever. What I do is conscious leadership. That's my culture that I'm changing the coaching industry into. I'm going to war with this, and I'm turning it into conscious leadership. That's my battle. What's yours? Write it down, get very specific on it. So if I'm a fitness coach, diet culture, say women's diet culture, if you're a female fitness coach. Now, what is the culture that you want these women to change into? What do you want to create to replace diet culture? Is it strong woman culture? What is it? Not the best, I'm not, Anyways, hopefully you could do better than me on that because it's your niche. So let's dive into this. Now, when you have people in this culture, what is the identity that they've created for themselves in that culture? So what does this look like? A lot of times when I work with entrepreneurs, the first thing that they say, I say, who do you help? And they say, I help men and women who struggle with this, that want that. That's not specific. Men and women, where's your niche? Humans? What's your marketing? Hey, you got 2 eyes and a nose? Huh? I got something for it. It doesn't really convey a lot of conviction and it doesn't really emotionally charge me to buy into your brand because I don't feel like it's actually directed at me. I feel like you're just trying to help everybody. And if you're trying to help everybody, you'll end up helping nobody. A lot of people think that when you niche down and get more specific that you're throttling your reach, but you're actually expanding your reach. You'll be able to hit way more people. So let's look at what this means. The identity that this person has for themselves in this culture right now has to come after the statement, I am. They have to say, I am this, because that is their internal dialogue of who they currently are. And we always act in accordance to what our internal dialogue is as humans. So if I'm not crystal clear on what the identity is for the person that I'm trying to help, I will not be able to communicate to them effectively to get them to hear me. There's 2 different languages being spoke, my language and their language. If I'm speaking to them in my language, they don't understand me. So what does this look like? Maybe if you're a fitness coach, you're trying to use a lot of very intensive scientific words that make you sound really smart. That's great, but that makes this person feel stupid. And if somebody feels stupid, they're not going to trust you and they're not going to buy from you. We have to dumb ourselves down so that we're speaking to them in a language that they can understand. Then we can pull them into our community and then we can teach them the new language as they evolve. So right now, this person is saying, I am blank. The people that I work with are usually coaches or CEOs. If you're a coach and I say, hey, what do? What do you say? I am a coach. See, I am a coach. That's their identity. I'm a coach. And so now when I speak to coaches, this person, this identity has way more of an emotional buy-in to what I'm saying because they feel like I'm talking to them. And here's the best part about this. Because coach is so specific and because both men and women can be coaches, my reach has expanded significantly by talking to one specific identity that is embodied by both genders. Probably even genders that don't exist are coaches as well. So I've got even more reach. The more specific you get, the better your content will be and the better you'll be able to convert, but we'll get to that in a little bit later in the video. Next, what you need to do is you need to figure out your culture and the identity that people have once they come into that culture. What status do they gain when they get into your community? And how is it gonna feel when they lose that status if they leave your? So for me, I am a coach. I am in the unconscious coaching industry. I'm super stressed. I'm sending 100 DMs a day. I'm not making any money. Nobody's signing up. I'm running ads. I'm just trying to get money and I have none of it. I'm so stressed. Yep, totally get that. You see, so I know their identity. I know the culture, which means I know all of their internal struggles and frustrations that's going on with them. I know what they're telling themselves on a day-to-day basis that makes them upset. So I can speak to those every time I'm in content. When they come into my community, they're in the conscious leadership culture now. We're the type of people that are doing this. We're serving the world from a place that serves the world, doesn't serve us. We're leading with love. We're looking for what is demanded of us so that other people's life can change. We're not looking at other people to change our lives. There's a lot of ideologies that come into play in my culture for how my entrepreneurs go and serve the world in their way, and that's what we're trying to change this culture into. So now the identity for that is when they come into my community, they become a conscious leader. You're a conscious leader now, and conscious leaders do this, 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 and this. Where most people mess up, where you're probably messing up right now in your business, is you're getting these people into your community. You don't have a culture, you don't have an identity, but you're trying to teach them new patterns and new behaviors. This is a very big golden nugget for you. So if you don't have a pen and paper out, pause the video, go grab it. Good, we're back. We have what I call umbrella identities, and we usually have, we'll just say 3 for an example here. Say you have an umbrella identity, and from that identity, you have 3 additional core identities, and these identities drive everything that you do. Most of us only are aware of our 3 core identities. So this can look like I'm a failure, I'm a procrastinator, I'm a binge eater, I'm a cheater. These are core identities. And so I'm a binge eater. What are my patterns? Every time I'm emotional, I eat. I'm a procrastinator. What's my pattern? I never get anything done. I push it off to the last minute and I stress myself out. I'm a failure. What does that mean? Every time I start something, I don't follow through. These are identity loops that we've created to uphold the status and the internal dialogue of who we are, who we know ourselves to be. But what's above that is an umbrella identity that is puppeteering those 3. So maybe from an early age, the identity was adopted that I'm somebody that's unworthy of love. See, the identity, I am unworthy of love. I'm a failure, I'm a procrastinator, and I'm a binge eater. So all 3 of those core identities are actually reinforcing the umbrella identity. So if you have somebody coming into your community and their umbrella identity is I am unworthy of love, and because of that, I binge eat, I procrastinate, I'm a failure, and you say, okay, come into my community. Now we're gonna start doing this, 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 and this that's different. And you think that's great. They're gonna start doing new patterns, you're gonna change who you are. And yet every time somebody comes into your community, they self-sabotage, they stop showing up, and then they get right back to where they are. Why does this happen? It's because these new identity patterns are still being governed by the old identity. So what's gonna happen is we have not identified, we have not given them the new identity. I call it the helmet. We haven't given them a new helmet to put on. Think about this. When Spartans put on their helmet, when a football pro puts on his helmet, different person. There's a big difference between men marching into battle and Spartans marching to war. What's the difference? It's the embodiment of the identity of who they are. So these people are wearing a helmet of I am unworthy of love. What's the new helmet they put on inside of your container? Because if I don't give that to them, what's gonna happen? They're gonna start doing these new patterns that I've given them, and they're gonna start inching away from not feeling unworthy of love anymore. They're gonna start feeling a little bit better about themselves, but they don't see any new identity coming on the horizon. All they see is their old identity starting to drift away. And now they start to lose a sense of self. They don't know who they are, they don't know who they're becoming, and that's really scary. We don't really know who we are, and if we don't know who we are, we don't have anything to live. And that feels like death. So we self-sabotage and we go back to the identity that we know ourselves to be. So when I can have a new identity, you are this now. Here's your new helmet. Now these new patterns are governed by a new identity. So we can start to map them over from an old identity into a new identity. That right there is the cornerstone for getting your clients to have tremendous success and actually change inside of your culture. We have to give them a new identity, new patterns, and new behaviors to reinforce that new identity. Now, they'll relapse. That's okay. That's normal. Relapsing into an old identity of self is so normal, and it's important to frame that for your clients before they get into your program. Because if you don't properly frame something for other people, they will frame it for themselves, and that's where expectations get messed up. Here's the thing, when people come into my community, we have like a 3-step interview process. They have an interview with Riley, my sales rep, and if he passes them off, then they go to Allie, and then if they pass her, they go to me. Well, the reason we do that is because we want to make sure everybody who comes in is somebody we can help and that they're a good culture fit. But when they come to me, I let them know, hey, here's probably what's going to happen. You're going to be super gung-ho for the next 3 weeks. You're going to be all in, you're going to be watching the modules, you're asking questions, you're showing up on calls, you're hyped. Week 4, you're going to start getting a little in your head because you're going to start seeing other students posting big financial wins. You're going to convince yourself that you're not worthy and that you suck, and you're going to feel a lot of shame and guilt. You're going to back away. I'm not going to hear from you for 4 weeks. And you know what? All my staff is under strict orders to not reach out to people when that happens because we're not babysitters. You're responsible for your own reactions to things. So we'll let people sit in that little valley of despair for a bit. After those 4 weeks, you'll make your way back. You'll feel really embarrassed. You'll apologize. You'll get back on your call. And then we'll say, hey, no big deal. And you'll realize I'm actually responsible for doing the work in this space for it to make sense. And so I frame this for people when they come into our community. And you know what happens? People still go through that, but they're actually able to recognize it when it's happening, so they don't feel like it's the end of the world. They remember, Nick told me this was going to happen. And the flip side of this is people recognize it's about to happen, and they don't do it because Nick told me this was going to happen, so they push past it. So either way, some people don't do it, some people do, but they still know what's happening. I've given them clear expectations. Hey, part of the process. And if I can lay out the process for them, they will not self-sabotage inside of the process. So framing is important. What is the culture that you're creating specifically? And what is the identity that the new person embodies specifically? Now that you have those two things, it's your turn to build the bridge with who you are, what your offer is, and the modalities that you take people through for that transformation. Now, this is not a video about how to make your coaching offer better and serve people more. That's more so something we do inside of my community. I have to be a little bit more hands-on with you in order to give that to you. Obviously, you being a good coach or a good leader in your fulfillment process is going to be a huge determinant of whether or not you can scale your company and get clients. The best lead gen above all else is going to be happy clients who get results. That's your best lead gen. So if that's already lacking, I would start there before coming back to this video. There's one really, really crucial part of this entire process, and that's who you are as a leader during all of this. So the number one question to ask yourself is, am I the walking embodiment of the transformation that I'm selling to people? And I get a lot of slack on this on other social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, when I talk about coaches and CEOs and leaders that I work with needing to get in good shape, because if you were the best version of yourself, you would be in shape. If you were the best version of yourself, you would dress good. You would make yourself you'd make yourself a priority. So a lot of times people come to me and they're having a hard time signing clients and they're significantly overweight. And I will, with love, have a really hard, honest conversation with them. Hey, if your clients or your potential prospects aren't looking at you and feeling inspired by everything that they see, you're gonna have a really hard time selling them a transformation of something that you're not embodying. You're the walking billboard for everything that you offer people. If this is you right now, with all love, I hope this is the wake-up call of, man, you know what? I can be in better shape. You know what? The best version of me is 10 pounds lighter. The best version of me does dress a little bit better. The best version of me does smile a little bit more, does talk on social media, does connect with my audience, does put myself out there. That right there really is the keystone to generating wealth. And this is a side note, but it's very important in this, because if you want to get that culture to be changed, you have to come out of the shadows. You actually have to let yourself be seen on social media. You have to let yourself be judged. You have to let people come and tell you that you're stupid because they don't agree with your stance. You have to do that because wealth is the path of the light. It is the path that you walk where you are fully seen. Wealth does not and cannot exist in shadow. I want you to think about this. Why would I trust you to change my life and I don't even know what you sound like? Why would I trust you? Why would I invest money in you? Why would I give you the hands on my life, on my steering wheel? I don't know what you sound like. I don't know what you're passionate about. I just know how you type. That just doesn't make sense for me. And I'm sure there's plenty of people who say, hey, I scaled a business doing content that way. That's great. I would say for a large majority of people, that type of content's not going to work because it's not going to instill trust in your people. How do I get people to connect with me? How do I get people to get into my program? How do I get people to reach out? And my big thing, done and seen this in multiple of my students, I genuinely believe that you can grow and scale a 7-figure business organically without sending any cold DMs or running any ads. I've done it, I do it consistently. These are why I'm doing this, because I think everybody can do this. Now, don't get me wrong, it is a little bit of a slower build. It does take a lot more patience. It takes a lot more inner work. It takes a lot more healing so that you're not trying to rush the process. Every time we rush, we make mistakes. This is a more grounded approach. It's a more slow burn, building something that's going to last. We're not gonna build something that lasts if it blows up in 6 months. We're gonna build something that lasts if we fortify it for 3 years and then it blows up. That's usually my stance with people. So how do we get people to connect with you? We're gonna go back into caveman days real quick. And we're gonna talk about the main principle of connection for human species. We've always had a center point that we've connected around, always. And if you can think of the earliest center point of connection that we've ever had, it's a campfire. Maybe there's one earlier than that, but that's where my knowledge ends, is a campfire. And so if you look at a tribe, for an example, tribes, there's 80 different job roles in a tribe. You've got mothers, you've got kids, you've got gardeners, you've got gatherers, you've got hunters, you've got warriors. But at the end of the night, that campfire is something that brings them all together. Now, even around the campfire, there's people singing, there's people dancing, there's other conversations, maybe there's people wrestling, there's people eating. There's all these different things that are still happening, but the main connection point remains the same, the campfire. There's no resistance to somebody going to sit by the campfire. It's warm, it's welcoming, and it's inviting. So the question to ask yourself is, what are the campfires for my current audience? And what are the campfires for my current clients? And what I mean by this are, what are those centerpieces of connection that you have? And we'll go social media here. What are the center points of connection that you have with your audience that aren't your offer? This is the number one mistake that I see entrepreneurs and CEOs making in their content, is they only talk about their area of genius or their offer or their business. Well, let's use business coaching for an example, because that's what I do. I don't like that because we do a lot more, but I do business coaching if we're gonna water it down. If I'm only talking about systems, business, this, human behavior, neurolinguistics, if I'm only talking about all of this stuff on my stories, majority of people in my audience, this isn't because I'm awesome, this is a human default that we pedestal people that we follow who are in areas of genius that aren't our own. So it's a normal default for some of my followers to look at me and say, well, Nick is way ahead of me when it comes to business. There's no way I can possibly connect with him or keep up or be in a conversation with him without sounding stupid. Nobody wants to sound stupid. We want to preserve our self-image. That's how we stay safe. So if I'm only posting about that, most of my audience can't connect with me, even though they want to. But if I go, and I did this, I watched the last season of Love is Blind, and I posted on my story, oh my God, does this girl actually think she looks like Megan Fox? She doesn't. She actually looks more like MGK than Megan Fox, if we're gonna be honest. I think I would have believed MGK more than Megan Fox. Anyways, and you know what? Actually, you watching this right now, you might have actually laughed or chuckled because you connected with me on the fact that I was talking about that, because it's something that we can all mutually sit around and conversate on. There's no real barrier to entry to talk about this girl thinking that she looks like Megan Fox or Love is Blind as general. You know, maybe you haven't seen it and so that didn't hit for you, but imagine I talk about a genre of music that I'm interested in, or a certain show that I'm watching and or a certain character that I love. And now people in my audience, I've put a drawbridge down that allows them to connect with me. And once they connect with me, now I have the opportunity to bring them higher, raise the consciousness level of the conversation, talk about their business, talk about their struggles, build a little rapport, and then eventually they're going to sign up. Because everybody who reaches out to you on social media, even if you see the comments on this video, I don't really get like negative comments on YouTube. I have a very conscious audience on here, which is great. I really appreciate you guys. But every once in a while, I'll get negative comments in the comment section. Even people who comment negatively on your post, they're actually just searching for human connection. That's it. They are just searching for human connection. They're hoping if they say something that other people will respond to them. That's it. Having that empathy for your audience and understanding if somebody reaches out to you about something that seems stupid, why would they reach out to me? This is dumb. they're actually just trying to connect with you. That was their bridge. And so looking at that as a way of this person just desires connecting with me. So instead of brushing them off or just liking their comment, engage in that conversation. I always go to their profile, and if it's public, I'll look at something and I'll ask them a question about something. I'll answer their thing and be like, oh my God, I looked at your page, I saw your dog, super cute. I'll even go like the post and go comment on it. Again, for them, it's natural to idolize somebody that you follow on social media. So for them to get a connection touch point from me of looking at their page, engaging on a post, commenting, and messaging them back, it's like, wow, that's not normal. Nick actually cares, and I do. I really value my audience on social media. I had followers for 7 years that have never paid me a dime, and I value them so much, and I want my community to feel that. So to me, it's priceless to do stuff like that. But so what are the campfires in your social media that allow people to connect with you on a more humanized level? And then when they get into your community, what are the campfires in there that aren't your offer? This part's so important, so important. We'll look at it from my perspective, how we've built out my mastermind. So business coaching is like our main thing. Now, we also do the leadership development. We also do breath work and the somatic release. We do meditations. We also do the human behavior changes, the subconscious rewiring. We also even do crypto and finance calls. When you come into our community, we actually have all of these other avenues of your life that we tap into to support you. This is what we promote, the one channel of service. When they come into my community, oh my God, they have all of these other channels of service that they didn't even know existed. So now, if we can help somebody with their healing, if we can help them with their communication, their business, their own leadership, their confidence, their investing, I mean, the list goes on, why would that person want to leave? We're serving them at such a high capacity, and we're in so many different areas of their life. It actually is more difficult to cut somebody out of your life who's been in multiple areas than opposed to just being in that one channel for them, and then it starts to feel like an expense over time. I want your offer to feel like a necessity, not an expense. I want the value that you give your people to supersede what they're paying so that they're inspired to stay. That's what campfires do. That's what culture does. So what's in your community right now that inspires people to stay? If you can master that, you don't even need to worry about re-signs. People are just gonna wanna stay. And I'm empathetic that majority of business advice on the internet is rooted in fear. I'm empathetic to that. I understand, don't get me wrong, it works. However, it's starting to not be as effective because people are starting to evolve and the collective is starting to wake up a little bit more. People are making their way a little bit higher on the vibratory scale, which is closer to love and further away from fear. So when we're using fear-based marketing in your audience, and this can look a lot like, hey, I've got 3 slots left. Hey, if you don't sign up now, I've got other calls. I'm gonna give this spot away. My prices are about to go up. You better make a decision right now. That's cool. However, you are only reaching the people in your audience that have trained themselves to make decisions from a state of panic. That FOMO, that shit I need to act, you don't ever make a good decision from that space. And these are the type of clients who get into your program, show up for 1 week, they ghost you, they don't respond, they ask for a refund, they file disputes with their bank, and they're just a super big headache. But because we're stuck on the hamster wheel of, I just gotta get clients, I just gotta get clients, I just gotta get clients, we're using fear to get people, and people are bringing fear into your community. What happens to the energy of your space when you're bringing people in a state of fear? The energy of your culture goes down. People start to feel unaligned. This is why clients all of a sudden start to drop off a ton, and you start panicking now. All that's happening is that you're getting an external confirmation of the stuff that you're doing internally. That's it. We can be objective with that. I'm getting a lot of clients who are dropping off right now. They're canceling early. What did I do? I was using a lot of fear in my marketing. This just makes sense. So there doesn't have to be victimhood. It's just very objective. This is what I did, so I need to change this if I want to change that. So let's go back to the campfire ideology. How does this sound? If I'm sitting by a campfire and you're over there freezing, and I look at you and I say, hey, don't you know it's freezing outside? If you don't come get by my campfire right now, you're gonna freeze to death and die. Death and die is a redundancy, but I'm really reinforcing that it's bad. Does that sound very inviting? Probably not. How about this? Hey, you better hurry up and get by this campfire. I only have 2 seats left by this campfire, otherwise you're gonna have to freeze to death. It's not that effective. I call that fear-based marketing. Now, the flip side of this, I call divine invitation. What a more divine, conscious invitation. I actually like conscious invitation better, so we're gonna change that. We're gonna leave it in the video, but we're gonna evolve our offer right here, live in the studio. Conscious invitation sounds a lot more like this. Hey, I see that you're cold over there. And just so you know, it gets dangerously cold at night. I would love for you to come join us by the fire and get warm. If you don't want to come join us, that's okay. Just make sure that you do something to stay warm so you make it through the night. Or, hey, it's getting kind of cold. I'd love for you to come over and join us by the fire. Don't you see how much fun we're having? There's a seat here whenever you want it. You can just energetically feel the difference between the two of those. Because here's the thing is, I know based on their current situation, their current pain point that they're in, I know that my campfire is what they need. I know how valuable my campfire is. I don't need to go, hey man, do you want to come sit by my campfire? Why not? Hey, haven't heard from you in 2 days. You still there? That's what you sound like in the DMs. I can ground myself in the fact that what I have is valuable and it's what he needs if he wants to improve his situation. So I don't need to force. Doors open. Maybe you need to struggle with your current pain point for another year before it's finally painful enough for you to come join us. And I'm happy to support you right now in the limited capacity I have available through social media until you're ready to make that decision and come into my community. And I'm sure you guys can just feel there's so much more, there's just a higher level of consciousness when you're doing business this way. You don't want people in your program if there's any sort of resistance inside of them. Now that's a little bit different from challenging somebody to make a decision for themselves on a sales call versus like bludgeoning them to make a decision and making them feel like shit if they don't. That's old. We're gonna leave that stuff in 2023, and 2024 is the year of the conscious leader, and that's why you're here probably this far on the video. This is all great, and you always wanna make sure that you're giving a ton of value to your clients. You always wanna make sure you're giving a ton of value to your audience, because if you're not giving them actionable takeaways, they don't trust what you're gonna say next. So you wanna make sure that you're kind of like pulling them in so that you can give them more stuff, but none of that is gonna work at all until you go to part 2 of this video series.